Hi everyone, welcome to our second installment of our four-part Hangout series this month, Beyond the Text Ad. My name is Graham. I'll be your host today. I'm a member of the AdWords team. Today we're going to walk through through all the tips and tricks to improve your account performance, and also some things to help regarding your locations. Today, like I said, our main focus is locations. So the theme today is location, location, location. Today I'm joined by my friends and colleagues, Mohammed and Lauren. So would you guys mind introducing yourself to the audience?
Yeah, thanks, Graham. My name's Mohammed. I work here along with Lauren in the Ann Arbor office, and I think we're going to share a googly fact about ourselves. I don't really have anything exciting to say. I've walked through the door to this
to our second installment of our four-part Hangout series this month, Beyond the Text Ad. My name is Grant. A little bit of technical difficulty there, but that's what live TV is all about. So go ahead. Sorry about that, Mohammed.
Yeah, no worries. So again, googly fact, introduce myself. Don't have anything exciting. I probably walked through the door on this floor 300 times since I started here, and I don't know if you can tell, but I think I just broke my nose running into the door when I didn't get it to open. So that's my exciting googly fact for today.
Hi guys, I'm Lauren. My googly fact is my favorite word is loquacious, and I think it has something to do with why they've invited me here today, because I do like to talk.
Was that on the SAT?
I'm not sure.
Alrighty, so just for a quick refresher, Mohammed, let's go ahead and get started. So why don't we go over some of the basics in terms of location targeting options that some people might forget about, or you might think would be beneficial for them to just kind of get warmed up as we talk about all the great things about location targeting.
Yeah, for sure. So I have a test account open, Graham, and we can toggle between my face and that account to give people a better idea of what I'm actually doing when I'm talking. But basically, AdWords gives you a bunch of great options to target based on location your ads and who gets to see them. So you can target or exclude based on things like the country, the state, the DMA region, the city, the zip code, and you can even set a radius around the specific address and say, 30 miles outside of this radius, that's who I really care about. And all of those options are available in the account. So if you want to toggle to the account, Graham, I can just quickly show you. We're looking at a mock campaign. So I'm clicking into the Candy Shop campaign of this account, going to the Settings tab of the campaign.
Okay.
From here, going to the Locations button right below Settings that allows us to kind of play with the location targeting. And I have a few things already set up, but if you click on this green Locations button here, you can go in and edit these settings. So you can simply type into here to add a specific place. We already have Colorado Springs, but somewhere else in Colorado, or if there was a specific state or city that you wanted to add, anything that you pull up here, you have the choice to, if I can spell, choice to add, exclude, or do that place plus everything nearby to your list of targeted or excluded locations. You can also click into, to the right of this search box here, the Advanced Search button. This brings up a map, allows you to kind of see what you are adding and taking away. And for instance, if you did a radius targeting here of, let's say, Colorado Springs, 20 miles out, it will, if I can zoom out here, that little circle is what I'm looking at. It looks like they have the whole box of Colorado highlighted, but this radius right here is what I just added. And if you like that and you feel like that's a good radius, you can, number one, edit it if it's not, but then you can go ahead and add it with this green button here. Click Done when you're ready to save that, and it will be added here in your locations. Beyond that, there are the options, of course, to exclude, which I touched on, and that can be valuable if you're doing something like targeting a state campaign, like a California campaign, but you don't want to target the Bay Area. So you can do things like targeting California and then excluding, San Jose, Oakland, and San Francisco. And that's pretty cool because it allows you to save money if you know that you don't want to reach that audience, but you do want to get everything around it. So that's a pretty cool feature as well. Now I think we're going to bounce to Lauren to talk about bid adjustments.
Well, Mohammed, before we transition, where do you find that? How do you know what's excluded and what's included in your mapping?
Yeah, so if you click where I was earlier onto that locations button, there's a separation here in this box. Right here it says targeted locations. Those are the places that you actually want to show your ad. And then below that is excluded locations, and those are the places that you've chosen to exclude. So these are Colorado examples, but in the example I mentioned earlier, it would be like targeting up here California and excluding down here the specific cities in California that you did not want to show your ad in.
Perfect. So, like Mohammed said, we're going to talk a little bit. If you were here for last week's episode or hangout, we discussed mobile and mobile bid adjustments and how you can use those to your advantage. This week, as we said, is about locations. So there's also, with enhanced campaigns, you can do a little bit of what are called location bid adjustments. Lauren, would you mind kind of explaining what location bid adjustments are, and then also giving a few examples of how businesses could use them?
Sure. So as Graham mentioned, location bid adjustments are already similar to mobile bid adjustments. We adjust based on different devices, so we have desktops, tablets, and mobile. But the difference here is that whereas you can only bid adjust on mobile in devices, in locations you can actually bid across any location that you're targeting. And a point to clarify, or just to point out, is that a location bid adjustment is a percentage change to your bids. So this doesn't impact your budget at all. This is simply a matter of reallocating funds or allocating your bids in a place that is most strategic. So when we talk about location bid adjustments in general, we really want to be able to target our audience in the location that is most valuable to us. So let's say, for instance, we're running a small brick and mortar store. In the case that Mohammed brought up, if we're in Colorado and we're a candy store. And if we're trying to drive foot traffic, so get people off the street into the store, it's going to be most important to us to be more competitive, maybe in a certain radius, let's say 5 miles around that candy store. And the reason for that is it's more likely that we'll be able to drive people in from the streets who are either checking their mobile devices or looking for candy. And so we want to spend more money there to be more competitive. As we get further and further away from the store, it might be less important to us, or we might want to bid less and be less competitive to that target audience. So that's how we can start to leverage location bid adjustments for a localized campaign. And the other side of the coin is if we're running something like a national campaign. If, let's say, we're an online candy retailer. And in that case, I like to think of this in two parts. There can be a proactive or a reactive strategy where we start to look at the data, and if we proactively know that there are certain markets that we want to specifically target. So if we're, again, running across all the United States, and we know that some of the larger metropolitan cities like New York or San Francisco, Colorado, etc., have an audience that really loves our candy. We can proactively start to bid higher in those markets so that we're more competitive and we can beat out our competitors for a higher ad rank. But let's say we have never run an AdWords before, and maybe we're really not sure where our target audience is just yet. The other way we can do this is reactively. So we can start to look at the data and analyze it and see where our potential audience is. And as we see more clicks traffic, depending on the strategy or conversions, etc., we can start to bid higher in those specific locations. And this is going to help us, again, leverage bid adjustments to see a higher return on investment, making sure to target the right audience in the right place where it matters most.
Great. And Lauren, do you have, just kind of curious, do you have if we talked a lot about increasing the bid adjustment, what would be an example of where you would want to decrease a location adjustment?
Sure, that's a great question. So I think as maybe we run a more strategic campaign, and let's say we are an online retailer and we're tracking conversions. Something that I advise oftentimes to my advertisers is if we have a hard line cost per conversion, let's say, maybe it's $5 cost per conversion, and we really don't want to go above that $5 mark. If there's a certain market or location where we see that we're exceeding this cost per conversion goal, we can start to bid down and be a little bit less competitive in that market so that we're hitting our cost per conversion goal.
Great.
Cool. Graham, do you want to see how that looks on the account?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So back to the candy shop. This is in Colorado, and we're looking at maybe targeting all of Colorado, because maybe this is an online Colorado-based candy retailer, and for whatever reason they don't want to be national, just want to be in Colorado. But Denver maybe is an important place for them to be. They've looked at their data, like Lauren said, analyzed it, and realized that a lot of their great traffic and conversions come from Denver. So what you can do is when you're in this same campaign, same settings tab that we were in earlier, the locations option here to set those settings. We already have these 2 locations set up. We're targeting all of Colorado and then Denver specifically. By making them line items separate like that, we can set a bid adjustment for Denver specifically, telling the system that we're willing to bid 25% higher than our baseline bid if that user is coming from Denver, because we've looked at the data, again, like Lauren said, and realized that Denver brings in most of our conversions. So you click directly on this row or column right there, and you can choose to increase or decrease if you didn't like Denver, but we've chosen to increase the bid adjustment by 25%. Click Save, and everything's good to go from there. So that's how you set those bid adjustments that you referred to.
And Graham, if I could just jump in, something in terms of the analysis part, the other thing to note is this location details tab. So in this drop-down, there are 2 options, what triggered your ad or where your users were. And this is where you can start to see if this was a live account, information with regards to where your users were or where your clicks are coming from. And you can do this at a country level, region level, city level, or more specific. And then you would be able to see your clicks data and where the traffic is coming from in order to make these decisions.
Awesome. That's great stuff. Okay, great. I'm hearing a little bit of feedback. Mo, would you mind just muting Lauren's computer? I think you muted her on the Hangout, but if you don't mind just muting the the computer itself. I was just hearing a little bit of feedback there, and I'm sure everybody else could hear it too.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Hey, awesome. So now we learned a little bit about mobile bid adjustments, and we learned a little bit, the basics of setting up for or not mobile bid adjustments, that was last week, location bid adjustments. Would you mind going through, I know a lot of people are kind of curious about how location extensions work and how they can use those to really get their business and their business address to appear with their ad.
Yeah, for sure. I'll take that. So there are a bunch of different extensions that you can add to make to add to your ad. To make the ad a little bit bigger, give a little bit more information. A lot of them are free extensions that you add on. It doesn't cost you any more per click or anything like that. So the location extensions are pretty cool because they give people that information about what your address is and where your actual business is. So they're shown 2 different ways depending on the device. On the desktop, a location extension is merged with your business address, and your phone number shows as well with the ad text. On a mobile device, it will show a link to directions to your business. So if someone clicked on it, it might open up their Maps application. It might even show how far your customer is from that business location, depending on their Maps app. And it also includes, as part of that extension, a click-to-call button, where if they clicked on that, it would bring up your number in their phone to dial, and then prompt them to click to call. So that's a pretty cool feature as well. That's on mobile.
Right.
Yeah, and so I think the 2 different ways to add the extensions are pretty key here, because if you have a Google Plus local page, or what we formerly known as a Places page, you can just integrate that directly with the ad and not have to worry about typing in your address or anything like that. So if you switch over, Graham, to the account that I'm in, this is what you see. What's that?
Perfect. You guys, yeah, keep going.
Cool. So this is what you see. You're going, again, Candy Shop campaign. We're at the campaign level, to the Ad Extensions tab. This is that button where it says View, where you toggle between all of the different extensions. You're, by default, usually set on location extensions, but if not, just click this, go to location extensions. And then you got these 2 options here. This one's expanded, but these are the 2 options that you see: addresses from Google Places or manually entered addresses. So if you have a Google Places account, this is the option for you, because it will pull all of that data in, phone number and address included. You click plus extension, and the best part about this is you're not signing in, you're not doing anything extra. If it's the same email that you're using for your AdWords account, which generally it is, it will already be there. And you will just simply click Save, and it will pull in that data automatically for you, append it to the ad, and it will be shown with the ad. And then also that's pretty cool if you have multiple locations, like on your local page or on your places page. That will automatically, the system will automatically know based on where the user is what one to show. Otherwise, what you can do, and just as good of an option, just a little bit more work in up front, is you can manually enter the addresses if you don't have a places or local page account. That's that second option down there, and you can add in as many of these as you want. You can tie them to a specific ad group if you want a certain ad group for each location. And yeah, add in all that information, any of the information that you want in there. And even upload a new map icon if you wanted to. I don't know if that's a new option. I haven't seen that before. But yeah, that's 2 different ways to add them in. Location extensions are awesome, especially if you're like a brick and mortar business and you're trying to drive not just online traffic, but foot traffic. People will be able to see your address and come up to the business. And yeah, in general, we find that ads that do use location extensions have overall about a 10% higher, up to 10% higher click-through rate on average as compared to ads without location extensions. So just another reason to add them in. Again, not adding anything to your cost per click, just giving the user a little bit more information about your business.
Great. Cool. And then I see we have a few questions here, which I will get to in the end because there's some really good ones from Melanie and Anand. So I will get to those in a second. But just to kind of hit one more thing before we start taking some questions. Lauren, would you mind, now that we know how to kind of implement this, how do we track and measure and see where all this traffic is coming from? Where in AdWords do we find these reports?
Sure. So we reviewed one way to look at it, which was going to the Settings tab and the Locations tab specifically, and actually looking at location details. And you can break this down to what triggered your ad and where your users were. Another place to see it is in your Dimensions tab. So Dimensions will break this down in 2 places. One is geographic, and one is user locations. And I get this question a lot, what's the difference?
I was going to ask the same thing.
So one is going to be basically dependent on the query that your user is inputting in the search, or if they're showing that they're looking in this particular area. The other is going to be literally the user location. So I'm sitting here in Ann Arbor and I'm searching, and the system's going to pick up on that. So there are 2 areas of relevancy. One is that in the query that how the user is searching, the system can tell if they're looking for a product in a particular location. And the second thing is what's most relevant to them where they're at right now. So if it knows I'm in Ann Arbor and I'm looking for candy in this local area, it's going to show me a candy shop closer to where I'm already located.
Awesome. Great. So let's take some questions from the audience. Melanie just wrote in, and she wants to know, can different ad groups have different location targeting, or does location selection apply universally to the whole campaign? Who would like to answer that one?
I'd love to. So everything that we're talking about with regards to targeting is always going to be at the Settings tab, campaign level. So when it comes to mobile devices, locations, ad schedule, everything that you see here, we're always going to be clicked in at the campaign level. Once you click on an ad group, you'll see it goes away. And that's because all these settings are unique to the campaign, and then we'll filter through for all ad groups.
Great. And just to reiterate, yep, everything is done on the campaign level. The next question we have is from Anand, and Anand wants to know, can you give some examples of B2B firms that are using location-based targeting? So do you guys have any examples of B2B firms that are using location bid adjustments, and how are they using them, and for what reasons?
I mean, I don't have specific examples, but I think it would be extremely important, especially if you have a multi-dimensional marketing or outreach strategy, to use location extensions when you're doing B2B outreach, because you might have people on the ground, sales teams on the ground, or competitors on the ground in certain areas, and know that you want to target or exclude certain areas based on what's happening on the ground. So your online advertising isn't always going to be, universal, all of California, all of United States. You might have teams in, we mentioned earlier, the Bay Area. If you know that you have a sales team that's kind of saturated that market, you might say, yeah, I do want to hit California, and I do want to get these certain businesses in California and be available so that they will be able to see my ad, but maybe you don't want to spend money on clicks in the Bay Area, and so you exclude those locations knowing that there isn't much business left for you there. So if you have if you've mapped out your strategy, what you've already hit on the ground, where you know your money is, or your partners are, using location targeting and location extensions is an important way to make sure that your online strategy matches what you already know about the strategy from other angles.
Great. Those are the only two questions I see at the moment. So as we wrap up, I was just wondering, do you guys have any, as we kind of deal with clients on a day-to-day basis, do you have any specific things that maybe people bring up a lot that you would want to kind of make sure everybody knows about, whether it be location bid adjustments, whether it be location settings, something that you often recommend that maybe we didn't hit on today?
I think just overall you can see that it's a really comprehensive strategy if you have especially like a brick and mortar location, kind of playing into the mobile devices conversation in the beginning that you talked about last week, hitting somebody when they're in the right location at the right time, and then incorporating location bid adjustments so that you know that you're increasing your bids. And I would just back up here and say that ad rank is going to be very important to you to make sure that your ad shows top rank. And there's two sides to that, right? Bids and quality scores. So if it's very important to you to be, top rank positioning when anyone's in this local, maybe 5-mile radius area to your storefront, then this is where bid adjustments can be a key player in increasing your bid and getting them to, drive them into your storefront. And then, as Mohammed already mentioned, you have extensions so that they're on their desktop or tablet. They're actually going to see a map icon and know exactly where you're located and how close you are. So I think it's just a very comprehensive strategy, and they're best used together if it meets the marketing goals that you've kind of aligned.
Yeah, I mean, formerly, before bid adjustments and enhanced campaigns were around, you would have had to create multiple campaigns to target different ways. So if you knew Colorado was, how you wanted to spend a certain amount CPC, but then in Denver you wanted to spend a little bit more. Yeah, it was a little bit harder to do, and with these bid adjustments and by having line item locations and setting those bid adjustments, like Lauren said, you can do it all within one campaign and have a really comprehensive, pinpoint accurate strategy for each location. I've seen it work really well, and I'm sure if you tried it out, you'd see better results than just sending the same CPC to all areas as if all customers were created equal.
Great, great. So thanks everybody for joining us. I'd just like to remind everybody this video will be up later this afternoon. If you have any questions relating to mobile bid adjustments, or excuse me, location bid adjustments, or location settings, exclusions, or even user locations report, always feel free to visit our help center online. You can always feel free to also call in to us, or write in, or even chat in. Next week, our topic will be video, so please stay tuned. That will be next Thursday. We look forward to seeing you there, same time, same place next week. I want to thank everybody for joining us, and also thank Mohammed and Lauren for joining us as well. That's it, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week on Thursday. Bye-bye.
Bye.